She did not leave because she stopped loving him. She left because she finally realized she had never stopped loving herself enough to walk away sooner. That is the part nobody tells you. People talk about heartbreak like it is something that happens to you all at once, in one terrible moment. But for Aisha, it was not like that. It was slow. It was quiet. It was the kind of thing that happens in small pieces over many months, until one day you look in the mirror and you do not recognize the person staring back at you. Sighs. And the strangest part is that you do not even notice when it starts. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Curious. Have you ever given everything you had to someone who made you feel like it was never quite enough? Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me if this sounds familiar, and if stories like this one speak to you, please like and subscribe. There are more coming. Now let us go back to where it all began. Aisha was 24 years old, in the final year of her university degree, living in a small rented room that always smelled faintly of old paper and instant noodles. She was the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday, who stayed up late helping her friends revise for exams she had already passed, who always had something warm to say, even on days when nothing inside her felt warm at all. She was, by every measure, someone who knew how to love people well. The problem was that she had never quite learned how to make sure love came back to her in equal measure.
That is a quiet kind of imbalance, the kind that builds slowly, invisibly, until one day the weight of it is everywhere and you cannot remember when it arrived. His name does not matter now. What matters is what he represented to her. He was charming, inconsistent, and always just present enough to keep her hoping. He would disappear for days without explanation, and then reappear with a smile that made her forget every unanswered message. He would make her feel chosen in moments, and then invisible in the next breath, and somehow, each time, she convinced herself that the warmth was real and the distance was temporary. She spent 8 months in that cycle, 8 months of adjusting herself, softening her edges, swallowing questions she deserved the answers to. She told herself it was patience. It was not patience. It was fear, dressed up in something quieter. She was afraid that if she asked for more, he would leave, and she was even more afraid of what it would mean if he did, because somewhere along the way, she would lose the conclusion measure of worth. She did not know she had won. Nobody thought about it. Nobody was happy. People who practiced their second world, they just had to worry. 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 They just had to She had a conversation with her mother around this time that she would think about for a long time afterward. Her mother had asked how she was doing.
The way mothers ask when they already know the answer is complicated.
Disappearing in the process. wrote that down later. She kept it. There is something that nobody says clearly enough about self-worth, and it is this. You cannot think your way into it. You cannot decide one morning that from now on you will value yourself more, and then have it be true. It does not work that way. Self-worth is not a belief you adopt. It is a practice. It is built in the small, repeated decisions to treat yourself the way you would treat someone you actually love. For Aisha, those decisions looked ordinary from the outside. Finishing the chapter she had been avoiding, going to bed at a reasonable time, answering messages from friends she had been too distracted to reply to, buying herself something small and nice on a Thursday afternoon for no particular reason. None of it was dramatic. None of it felt like a breakthrough in the moment. But cumulatively, over weeks, it added up to something. It added up to a person who remembered that her own presence in her own life was worth showing up for. She finished her dissertation chapter, then the next one. She started doing well in her seminars again, asking questions, contributing ideas she had kept quiet about for months because she had been too distracted, too hollowed out, too busy waiting to bring her full attention to anything else. She laughed more easily, not because things were suddenly simpler, but because she was not carrying the extra weight of a hope she kept trying to hold up even as it kept letting her down. She went out with Rania one evening to a small restaurant they had not been to in a long time, and they sat for 3 hours and talked about everything and nothing. When Aisha walked home afterward, the air was cold and the streets were quiet, and she felt something that took her a moment to identify. She felt light, not happy in a loud surface way, not relieved in the way you feel when something bad has ended. Something quieter than both of those. Something like arriving somewhere you did not realize you had been trying to get to for a long time. She has not stopped thinking about love since then. She has not decided that it is not worth wanting, or that being alone is better, or that the answer is to need nothing from other people. That is not the lesson. The lesson is more precise than that. She learned that chasing someone who is not choosing you is not love. It is a performance of love, staged for an audience of one, and you are the only one watching. It keeps you busy. It gives you something to hope for. But it does not give you what love is actually supposed to give you, which is the feeling of being met, of being seen, of not having to earn every small moment of warmth. She learned that the amount of effort she was willing to put in was not a measure of her love. It was a measure of her fear, and fear is not a foundation. It is just a very loud distraction from the question she should have been asking herself much earlier. The question was not, how do I make him stay? The question was, why am I willing to shrink myself to make someone comfortable who does not seem particularly concerned with my comfort? That question, when she finally asked it, changed everything. Not all at once, not dramatically, but the way light changes a room when you open the curtains. Everything is the same, and everything looks different. She is still learning. She will keep learning. But she walks differently now, not with arrogance, not with certainty, just with a sense that her own life belongs to her, and that belonging to herself is not a consolation prize for not being chosen by someone else. It is the only real place to start. Choosing yourself is not the end of loving other people. It is what makes it possible to love them without disappearing in the process. It is what makes love something you give from a full place, instead of something you offer, while quietly hoping that giving it will finally be enough to make someone stay. She knows now that she does not want that kind of love. She does not want to wait for someone to decide she is worth showing up for. She wants someone who already knows, who does not need to be convinced. And she knows, with a quietness that took a long time to arrive, that she is worth that. Not because she did everything right, not because she has finished growing, but because she is here, because she stayed, because she turned back toward herself when it would have been easier to keep reaching outward. That is not a small thing. That is, in fact, everything.
So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.